I start? Hello, Pavel. Hello, and welcome to
Hello.
another episode of Well, it depends. And the idea of well, it depends is that it's an answer we can give to the questions that we try and ask each other, or that we get from other people who've seen uh, these recordings before. So we're talking about complex questions in the world of product and software development. And yeah, the answer is always, well, it depends. So what does it depend on? And why do we say it depends on different things? And what's our experience? And what would we recommend that you might look at to find out more? So my name is Paddy Curry.
And I'm Paweł Wolchowik.
Right. And today, Pavel, I will be asking a question about autonomy. And the question is, because it comes from me, I can be kind of a little bit free with my language. I might refine it a little bit, but I think I'll start with how much autonomy should we expect?
Mm,
So, do you want to
it
do you want to?
it
So
depends.
what does this depend on, right? What does
You know
that
what?
depend?
I'm not yet sure, but maybe to
Hmm.
begin, I like having some type of mental model that I'm basing my thinking on. Maybe here a good mental model is the responsibility matrix. Do you know this one? Richard Hackman. I think it's based on his research, which is like types of teams. I'll try to paste the picture
Hmm.
somewhere here.
Yeah, you can pretend you're
Ty-
pointing to it there.
it's type of teams and responsibilities, whether you just execute the task, you monitor and manage the work, do you design the team, do you set the direction for the team. It's like one dimension. And another is, are you self-organizing, self-managing, self-designing, self-governing? And then I imagine the more you move on this, the higher you move on this matrix, the more autonomy you get. Uh, and yeah, is more autonomy always better? I don't know. What do you think?
Well, I suppose I can give a kind of a personal note to this question before talking about something like the answer. But I think in my early days as a maybe team lead, maybe as a senior developer, or my early days as a scrum master, um, I kind of always wanted more autonomy. I think it was something I felt like, a kind of a good installation of agile ways of working would mean autonomy at the team level, and we could make a lot of decisions independently, and the team would decide, right? We would decide. But what I've learned, well, certainly the second half of my recent career, right, the last maybe 10 years or so, is that the team doesn't exist in isolation from the context. And I think that's one of the things that the model you're describing takes into account, right? So what is it from the context that the team is in that influences the level of autonomy you have? And to me, that's a really interesting question. This is why, well, it depends, right? So in my experience, the things that get decided outside of the team that influence how the team operates, they are levers on the team's autonomy, right? So anything that if you're a manager or a lead of somebody, some function, some role, and you're outside a team and you're saying something like, well, every team should do this. Like that's an example of something that is eroding the autonomy of the team because it has been imposed, it has been decided,
Mhm.
and every team, maybe in a top-down way, will learn that they must now do something. And let me think of an example as I'm describing what I'm talking about, but it's the classic small change. This only takes 5 minutes. It's only going to take somebody 2 minutes to do this, right? We don't even need to discuss it. Let's move quickly. We're agile, right? Let's move quickly. Make the decision. Every team will now do this. So I feel like those kind of things can be made with the best of intentions. But what those individual people don't always see is at the team level, there's already a backlog of 127 things that are just small things that the team must do, that every team must do. And it becomes very complex to remember and honor all of those needs. And you end up with people doing an awful lot of, I guess, invisible work or filling gaps, you know. Is that resonating? Am I making sense there?
You do. I'm just thinking. So where you are right now, you were like as much autonomy as possible. That's good. Now are you moving a bit into the direction of? Did you change? Yeah, no, you tell me, because then I'm thinking you are moving on some trajectory. Do you think that last 10 years of your life you will spend thinking, I was wrong. No, more autonomy is better. Or will you move more in the direction of no, autonomy is the best? Like, why would team want to think about something like this? Everyone should have a daily 15 minutes meeting. That's a great idea. It's best event in Scrum Guide. Everyone should be doing that. Every team.
Right. So how do I answer this? I think I'm going to bring something from the world of coaching to it, right? Or maybe connect to empiricism in Scrum. That the first step towards, I guess, understanding whether something is working well or working badly is to pay attention to it. So you look for evidence, look for information in your context. Like, how is team autonomy where I am right now?
Mm-hmm.
How do I answer that question? Okay, maybe it's a one question sentiment survey. Literally asking that question in a retro. Okay, I'm just going to ask this one question. Everybody give me a scale of 1 to 5, 1 being awful, 5 being fantastic. Where do you think you are? And then it's about, okay, well, what does autonomy really mean to you? Because as a developer, to me, it might mean I get to choose the name of the method that I'm working on. And in that pull request conversation with that other idiot who wanted a different name, he was ruining my autonomy, right? And it could be that level. It really could be. Or it could be like, I don't want to use Jira. I want to use choose your other competing tool, right?
Excel.
Yeah. We don't need Jira. We're just not going to do that. Or no, don't talk to me on Slack. Talk to me on whatever. And I'm going into tools again, which we talked about before. But to me, I need to, as a manager, or as someone who works across a bunch of teams and who might be providing an answer to a question, like in an agile coach role, I might be providing an answer to a question that depends on an awful lot of contextual factors. And that answer might be taken and applied very liberally to every team, and you don't always have you don't always have the voice to speak to all of those individual teams and say, hey, like, this is a guideline, not a legal requirement, right? Sometimes it's the interpretation that restricts the autonomy rather than the intention. So this is a complex topic for me, I think.
And to make it even more complex, I can add something more, which is something I'm experiencing right now, which is the how culture impacts the way you think about it. So there's this book by Erin about culture map, and there's this idea that some cultures prefer a little bit more top-down approach. Some cultures need more consensus-driven approach, and it's interesting to also see it as an interaction between some leader and the people that the leader leads. In a sense, there was an exercise to be done, something about team setup, and the leader simply said, yeah, I have it thought through. I can see how this should look like, who should go where, and why. And I have different options. I'm leaning towards this one, and I'm interested in choosing this one. And then it's like I imagine part of this is driven by the culture, in a sense, what is expected of me as a leader, how I see the role of the leader. I need to lead, I need to show confidence, I need to a lot of things probably. While in another setup, another culture, I see people who are very much inviting people to help shape the decision. And what is funny is that there can be a mismatch. Like if you are a Danish leader working with Ukrainian teams, that's my context. That I see Danish, Ukrainian people, leaders mixed. If you try to invite people too much into making the decision, you might be seen as an ineffective leader. Like you can't really decide that. What type of leader are you? It's super interesting, and it's also something mentioned in the Erin Mayer's book.
That sounds really interesting. I like as well the different ways of making decisions that I think Jimmy Janlen visualized them really well. Like, so if you're experienced enough to be able, let's say you're in a facilitating a group and the group was trying to make a decision, if you're experienced enough in how to facilitate the different ways to reach a decision, you can give the group a choice if you want.
Yeah,
which is kind of nice. But one principle that I think I'd like to bring in from my own experience, because I probably have experiences of myself not following this principle and following the principle, and I think I can honestly say life is easier when you follow this principle, right? And the principle is, if a decision in an organizational context that is outside of your sphere of influence or outside of your sphere of power or outside of your control, if it is not the decision you want, right, disagree and commit is often the best choice. And that comes from Patrick Lencioni, the dysfunctions of a team.
yeah.
It's, you're not going to agree with every single decision. You're not going to agree with every single leadership choice. So you have a choice, right? And I think that there's a range of choices, right? Disagree and commit is one. But if you disagree and disrupt, like, what kind of teammate in the context of the organization are you being? If you decide, oh, okay, that one, that's big enough for me to say I'm out, right? That's another option available to you. Yeah, okay, cool. We all understand where each other stands. But if you feel like you can say, okay, Rug, this is not the hill I'm going to die on. It's not important enough for me to invest too much emotion into it. I'm going to use the tool that's not Jira. Fine. Or I'm going to do my code review according to the standards that everybody has decided on, because we could debate these things forever. We need to move on. So in the interest of, like, alignment, which is possibly not a pretty word, but in an organizational context, like, we can't debate everything forever. We have to be pragmatic. So the idea of autonomy for me is like, where is the level of autonomy that I feel like I need to fight for? And am I somehow reflecting all of the little waves that have eroded the autonomy that is impacting how the team is experiencing it? So, how we do code reviews, how we do designs, how we do coding standards, how, all of the kind of shared agreements, the definition of done, like the things that our quality team needs from us, the things that our production support team needs from us, all of these things that could have an impact across all teams. Have we got a record of all of those things that we're trying to do? And then, do we just disagree and commit? Do we, it depends on the role you're in. It depends on the thing that's being asked for. If a compliance or a data protection team is asking you to do something, maybe don't choose that hill. Don't say no to those things. But
I imagine there are career limiting moves that you can make here.
Oh yeah, and very much we're in this kind of territory. But I think what we're talking about here is the context that I have in mind here is you're a team in the context of a larger organization of maybe other teams doing roughly similar work. Maybe you're working together to build features. Maybe you're not always working together, but there's probably a bunch of people in a bunch of different roles who need information to give to either customers, right, or senior people in the organization about how great everything is going. And sometimes
Yep.
they make quick decisions to enable access to that stuff that they aren't aware of the impact on everybody. So if you can kind of surface that and articulate it, with the right level of importance and urgency as the context demands, maybe you'll protect your team's autonomy. But again, yeah, it can be career limiting. The easy thing to do is just say, oh, well, disagree and commit, right? That's the easy thing to do. Sometimes.
Yeah, I'm super curious if anyone would comment watching this video, because I need to meditate more on the disagree and commit.
Right.
I'll spend more time on it, definitely.
It's a complex one, isn't it?
Yeah, I will post my comment underneath this video. No,
Dude,
I disagree with Pavel.
We can have a public disagreement with ourselves.
Exactly. All right.
Yeah. So recommendations on this one? I think you had a nice book recommendation.
Yeah, I think Erin Mayer, that's an interesting angle to all of it. I will try to copy paste some picture of the responsibility matrix. I remember my wife even did a drawing of.
I'm just teeing you up there.
It's in the middle.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll copy paste something. Maybe it will be in the chat comments. Something. What else? You mentioned.
Yeah, the 5 dysfunctions of a team is Patrick Lencioni's. I like it because it's written like a story. He talks about the 5 principles, the 5 dysfunctions, and how to overcome them. And disagree and commit is part of that.
If we imagine we pressed stop right here, right now, you know what? I was a huge fan of Patrick Lencioni's work until I watched him on YouTube a few times.
Okay.
Maybe he won't watch this recording.
Okay.
He's very United States type of leader, I would imagine. Yeah. If you haven't seen him,
I'll have a look. I'm interested. I'm trying to think, what else did we talk about? There's the principle of disagree and commit, which we talked about. Culture, which we talked about. You mentioned the model. That's from the book, is it? The Meyer book?
Yeah. Okay. I'll copy paste this. Done? Maybe we're done.